All right. I see the little red light, meaning we're live.
Yep, it's going. I'm gonna record this too while I'm thinking
Cool,
about it.
man. Good deal. Do you ever let me shut those guys off? Do you ever find yourself like hanging out by yourself and you're just like, self, what the fuck are you becoming?
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna
Has that ever
edit
happened to you?
Yeah.
It does it right. It does, right? You're just like, whoa, it's cool. Do you think that happens to the oak tree when it like looks down and like, I'm not an acorn anymore? I'm a fucking oak tree. He's like, whoa, I used to be an acorn.
That's a really good question. Who knows? Because it doesn't happen to everybody either.
Could have been squirrel food.
Could have been squirrel food, man.
Turds. But no, you're an oak tree. You're a fucking oak tree for sure.
Could have been squirrel turds, and thus oak tree food.
Fair enough. The metaphor continues to be very literal and also highly metaphorical.
Oh my goodness. That just blew me away right there.
Should we just sign off or what? Call that one good.
Do you have anything specific? Because we can just go down this rabbit hole right now if you want.
I mean, I was curious about what I think I texted you about what you said last week, but we could bring it up later. Let's just go down this for now. I like this.
So, okay. The acorn, the squirrel. We'll put the squirrel food / fertilizer. Can we make that one thing, or should we make that two things?
I think it's one thing. Because it's
squirrel food / fertilizer for the tree.
Just opposite sides of the squirrel.
And then the tree. Those are 5, like we've labeled those as different things. Like, because we just did it. Are they actually different?
And if they're all happening to the same thing, and instead of 5 separate things, because it's all one thing, it's just we've kind of summed up like the ego death in a sense. As your ego dies, the squirrel eats it and shits it out, and it grows the forest.
And it grows the fucking forest.
Or takes that acorn 10 miles away and makes the forest bigger. You know, like in the same way that wheat domesticated us, maybe the oak tree domesticated the squirrel.
The squirrel.
In the same way that wheat domesticated us. In the sense that we were wild animals until we started harvesting wheat. So as a way for the oak tree to grow itself, it has an expendable resource that it gives to the squirrel. So it can spread its seed, but also feed itself in future generations and the squirrel. Just like us, man. Just like we're doing right now.
Dude, it's been a really long time since like we've started a conversation when I can feel my. It's funny because we say my mind is being blown, but I have this feeling right here in my chest of this expansion feeling.
Exactly, my friend.
This is good. This is good. Dude, you know that we're like almost exactly a year ago, like last couple weeks, those memories started coming up of us doing this for a year ago. That feels, cool. Oh, I love the way that feels. Fucking acorn, the squirrel. Domesticated the squirrel. Domesticated the fucking squirrel. What's going on today? Good to see you, bro.
Likewise, man. Thanks for being willing to drop in like that with
no, it's perfect. I was just chilling. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Domesticated the squirrel. I'm gonna freaking iterate the shit out of that into my coaching program somehow. I don't know how yet.
I mean, it's a lot to say. There's a lot happening in there in that metaphor. I like it a lot.
It's funny too. I just got done with the client just now, and it was like one of those sessions where you like started. It was 5th session, and it was just like exactly that. Like, how long have we known that squirrels exist? We've known that squirrels eat acorns, and the acorns grow into the oak tree, and it's a fucking very expansive process. And we've also know that the squirrels eat that stuff and fertilize it. But that's the first time that's like you've put all those together, and then it's like I am now a different person.
The power of a metaphor.
Yeah, man. Oh, But that's how this session felt. It was just like, we know this tool, we know this fact, we know this fact, we know this detail, we know this thing, and we've been pulling this string. And then it's like all of a sudden you get to the end of it and it splits off and connects all of them. And we're both like, oh yeah. So
Cool,
like,
man. Where you get
so
as much
cool.
out of your coaching sessions as your clients too. That's cool.
Well, it's really true.
They're not
Something that I
always like that,
learned.
but the best ones are, I'm sure.
Yeah, this one specifically. So I talk about this a lot. At least this is one of the oak tree conversations I have with myself. Is like, I was reading something. I was like, create a product, and this is like a business thing. Yet I think it's a life thing too. Create a product, release it, and then receive feedback. Iterate, like never end iterating, right? And then allow that iteration to turn into your next whatever it is. One of the things that was really cool with this guy is he'd come in like first or second session, and one of the things he's struggling in his relationship with his wife, and he wants to be able to have more powerful conversations with his wife. And he's like, I don't want to have fucking 4-hour conversations anymore that just don't go anywhere. There's arguments, right? So I was like, oh, why don't I just set a timer for 10 minutes? And then I've never offered that advice to anybody before. And then all of a sudden, I've like this whole new tool developed by somebody saying, I don't want to have 4-hour conversations anymore.
Yeah.
Now I have an entire tool called the 10-minute conversation with like step-by-step instructions on how to set it up, because I decided to have some guy over and allow him, space. And so it's kind of like that same thing with the squirrel. It's just like, man, I never even thought about that before, because we're carrying a timer around with us all the time. It's got an alarm on it. Most of us shut the ringer off. Remember back in the day, 10 years ago, when cell phones were first getting big and everybody had their ringers on because everybody had a different song on their stuff and they all wanted to stand out. And now nobody wants to hear their phone. But now you can iterate and reappropriate that tool to use it for something more powerful. Set a timer. Okay, we're getting ready to start the conversation. And this can go for good or bad conversations.
Well, yeah, especially if you set the container first, where you like
Set the container first. Yeah.
Dyad position, like 3 deep breaths. We're going to talk for 10 minutes. Whatever comes up is awesome. We're stopping at 10 minutes. We're going to hug.
Stopping at 10 minutes.
Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Set the container. Come from here, from obviously setting a container like that. And who knows what can happen. I love it. And that's what's cool about being a coach is when because you have this tremendous understanding of what it's like to be human, because you coach so many humans, someone gives you a specific constraint that they're in, and the solution is just like ding, because you're a self-cleaning oven. If that was in your life, you would have came up with it already.
Right.
And so that's what's cool about being a coach, is when we're always on, always listening like that. And the idea it makes so much sense to come up with something like that. And I love the idea of the 10-minute conversation. I've never thought of that, but there are certain individuals in my life who the relationship and sometimes the conversations can be pretty intense. So a 10-minute agreement is beautiful, because
And so I remember it was like I think it was the first session. I was like, yeah, go home and have a 10-minute conversation with your wife and cut it off no matter what. And so then I went and I talked to McCare afterwards, and it was just kind of like us checking with our stuff. Like, hey, if we've been talking for 10 minutes and we've been arguing, or how long should you let an argument go before you should pause it and take a break? And so this was like the question from her. So I was like, so at what point
minutes.
That was her. She's like 2 minutes. She's like, if you're still arguing.
22 minutes.
22.
22
Go,
minutes.
tell me more.
That's the average attention span. High energy, as long as you can communicate, as long as you can respect each other, high energy is awesome. Bring it. As long as you can treat each other with love and respect and like humans, bring that fucking high energy.
Yeah.
The longer than 22 minutes, chances are no one's fucking paying attention anymore.
Chances are they don't know why you're even having the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Anymore.
You're just going in circles. And so with that high energy, though, I've created moments of clarity in myself, and I've created moments of clarity in my partners by having that super high energy that only can come after 10 or 15 minutes of not seeing eye to eye. And obviously staying in the container of love and respect, mandatory. You shouldn't be talking longer than 30 seconds if you can't stay in the right container. But if you can, that energy is useful, man, because it takes us deep in.
Yeah. And that's what the whole tool that I built around the 10-minute conversation, it's literally all about the container. I'm going to add that, with your permission, the dyad thing in there.
Please,
that's not something I hadn't.
And the three deep
Right.
breaths
Well,
too. The three
the
deep
three
breaths
deep
together.
breaths. And I think too, also like, okay, cool. Take the 3 deep. I usually do 5, but it's whatever. 3 is
I
like
mean,
when I can start to feel the change.
10 is
5 or
awesome.
6. And yeah.
10 is good.
It's like
If you can get them to
300
do 10,
breaths.
if you get them to do 10,
Yeah. If you can get them to do 10, it should
anyone
be
on
fine.
earth takes a state change after 10 deep
Fuck
breaths
yeah.
and exhales. Anyone. And
Anybody.
so that takes you from here to here. 10 deep
Mhm.
breaths.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I was a relationship coach, the first thing every single session would start with is breath work. 100%.
That's a good idea. I
It-
might toss that
it
in
would
there
be-
and try that
it would
out
be,
for a little while.
It would be the
Chest, stomach,
the more dominant person sits in the back.
Mhm.
So it could be the man or the woman, just whoever's the more dominant person in the relationship, and whoever feels better in that, it might be one or the other, sits in back. The other one sits in front. Like if we were sitting in a bobsled and I would just lean back on you and you'd be sitting in front of me, but your butt would be completely on the floor. You wouldn't have any weight on me other than your chest. And
Right.
we would be upright enough where it wouldn't be a lot of weight, but it would be some of your weight. And we would breathe together. And since the more dominant person, chances are they can breathe faster, the person in front will set the pace. And so the person in the back, their responsibility is to copy the breath of the person in front. And so you do this, breathe, the person in back just copies fully in and fully out, nice and easy, like a silent exhale, like you're not doing any work, just literally no force on your exhale. And do that with the person sitting in front of you. Match their breaths, breath for breath. The dominant person needs to follow the person in front. What this does creates an insane neurochemistry between both people.
Mhm.
Both people have a significant increase in oxytocin because of their breathing together. The person who is more submissive or the less dominant person is going to feel way safer. The person who is more dominant is going to see the person way more because they've been watching them and observing them and feeling them breathe for however long that exercise is. And I don't give a fuck how angry any two people are. If they
No,
actually
it's gonna go
fucking
away.
love each other,
Mhm.
you put them in that situation, they're going to have a conversation that's going to change their fucking relationship. And that's 15 minutes, man. God, I can't wait to work with couples. If there's any couples that don't know me and haven't worked with me, or I would love to work with the couples because I never have. I've always done
Yeah.
one-on-ones or groups.
That's something that I've couples is something that I've thought about, and I've had a couple of consults with couples. Yet it was just like one would be there that really wants to do it, and then the other person really doesn't, and then you're like, no thanks. Like it has to. It's a more challenging to get the buy-in from both.
See, I'm good with only one. All I need is one.
You only need buy-in from
I
one.
don't need one, and I don't even need their full buy-in because it's not me. I'm not creating the experience. I create the
Right.
container, and they create the experience. All they have to do is sort of listen to me long enough and let go, and I can pretty much get anyone to listen to me for a little bit just by being super fucking vulnerable. I can assess whatever that person needs to see from me, and I'll give that to them so they can at least let their guard down enough to hear what I have to say. Whether they don't want to be there or not, it doesn't matter. They'll let their guard down just a little bit to not waste their time, and that's enough for me. One person is all I need because they do it. They create every bit of it. I just kind of hold them and rock them, and then they create the experience.
I'm gonna do that with Kara tonight.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know if it's gonna happen. It's gonna be dope.
Yeah. And just you can invite her to take some deep breaths and invite her to take many in a row, and don't tell her what you're doing necessarily, and just copy her breath, follow her breath, let her ride your inhale and exhale. And like, so the same time that she's exhaling, you're exhaling. And what's happening biologically, you're setting your heart and your brain coherence to hers. And so your nervous system is going to match hers pretty much. Beat for beat, breath for breath, brain frequency for brain frequency. They're all going to be in sync with each other. And so she's going to feel, I mean, we'll talk tomorrow. Maybe you'll text me like, dude, what the fuck was that? You don't have to do anything other than that.
Well, I think that in the most interesting part. So where did I read this week? It doesn't fucking matter. I'm reading this book, and he's just talking about it's about gratitude and stuff, and like realizing that I have all this shit around me, but the stuff that I don't notice that's happening all the time is I have a lifetime supply of oxygen for free. It's just sitting around. It's just there.
In all the empty space.
My heart beats. I don't have to ask it to. It just does it. Doesn't cost me anything. I just got to get up. Don't even get up. It's just there. It just beats. However many times it's beat, like since I was born. Like I'm 40 years old. My resting heart rate's 50. So like 50, I don't know, like this freaking shit ton of beats, like over the, you know, Dre beats.
Quite
even.
a few.
Quite a few. And so it's like, it's just interesting. And then this thought about the breath work, because you're the one that got me onto it. And I was just, it blows me away. And it's something that's, we just have. Well, I'm not going to be able to change it. Yeah, you can fucking breathe. Like, go breathe. You know? Amy wants to know if this work with more than 2. I imagine it would. If you had 3 people in that sled. Yeah.
Probably.
I bet you could.
I mean,
bet you could do that with as many people. Yeah.
We've done it with 50 people, just not in that like situation.
Like in that train. That'd be really interesting.
Like, we're more or less laying on top of each other, like feet are on top of an arm, or I'm like not quite a dog pile, but like maybe a cat pile.
Right. Yeah. Because I imagine if you had 25 couples in a room that were just doing the exercise together, the frequency in that room is going to range.
Dude, you wouldn't even walk through that room without bumping into something.
Yeah, something completely ethereal and not there.
Yeah, but also measurable in scientific laboratory.
Absolutely.
With the right equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
That can be measured. And when our hearts and our heads, our hearts and our minds or our brains get in coherence, it's measurable. Electromagnetic field around the human body increases significantly. It's pretty fucking cool.
Damn, dog. You're on fire today. I appreciate you.
I was just so happy to talk to you today, man. I've been thinking about it all day. Didn't know what I was going to talk to. Just excited that I have people like you in my life that are like an intellectual risk taker. You know, you're willing to think about things and you're willing to engage your world with such a wide lens, and you're willing to drop into that space with me and have a lot of fun in these conversations. And we've been doing this a year, man, and finally we're able to do it where there's not someone listening. Finally,
yeah,
we've been trying to get here this whole year, because this is what it's like when we were on the phone. Finally, we're able to reciprocate or reduplicate our experience of each other on the phone. I think this is the first time that we've actually done that.
It's funny too, because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. And if you were to tell somebody, I think this is a good lesson for me. Hey, Ryan, in a year, you're going to be able to duplicate this in public. And so it's like, oh, a whole year? Man, it just feels like we just started this. And it's funny because just this week too, that whole year worth of videos is now on my YouTube channel. And so, which we've also been like, oh, I mean, meaning to do this. They're all there. Even the ones I didn't record, they're all there. They're all there. They're all there. I've got a virtual assistant now. So she went to my Facebook and ripped them all off Facebook and put them on my YouTube channel. So I was super stoked about that. So that's why I'm recording this one today very intentionally, because I don't want to I want to save her a step.
Also, congratulations on
thanks, man.
Taking care of that shit, dude.
Yeah, it's freaking cool, man. I really dig it. It's funny, like watching us, like where the evolution to like sitting in front of Whole Foods to sitting in my son's room to sitting in my actual office space. It's like really cool.
Totally.
Like watching it, you know.
It's fucking badass, man. And that's what's fun about this whole thing is to watch the tree grow. And see it take shape. In which direction is the branch going to enter the void space in? You know, if you think about the choices and directions of our lives, it's exactly like those tree branches. I mean, they take some pretty strange turns. I don't know how much time you've spent looking at tree branches, but it's fucking wild. You know
what's funny? I was literally doing that yesterday, looking at tree branches yesterday.
Yeah, man, they have a lot of details.
This wasn't yesterday. It was on Thursday morning. But I was walking. I dropped my daughter off at school, and I was coming. Is it fucking Thursday? Today's Monday? Or whatever. It doesn't matter. So, but I was like, you ever seen a monkey? Sure. You ever seen a monkey pod tree?
Maybe.
So a monkey pod tree, it's the best tree in the whole wide world, by the way. But they don't grow leaves like all over like an oak tree would grow. It's like this expansive thing. It's like they just grow. Everything goes to the top, and then it's a literal canopy. So you can see all the way up, and then just look through, and it looks like you're looking at a ceiling of leaves. And so it's, dude, they're the most amazing thing. And so her school is built under like these 6 or 7 monkey pod. There's probably more. Actually, I'm gonna go count these fucking trees. And it's just like, so even when it's 90 degrees out and you're in Hawaii heat, like it's still
Good
so
shady
shady,
little
super
oasis.
shady and cool. And it's in this little, it's built in this little valley. So the wind's coming down through there, and it's
Super
amazing.
nice,
It's this
dude.
amazing spot. And somebody picked it out. Somebody donated the land to this school because they believed in the school's mission. And so it was just like these amazing trees. And there's one
Cool.
up by the waterfall from Lost, the Lost waterfall. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
You're like standing in this monkey pod tree is like one of the, it's huge. Like you're standing under it. It just seems like it spans at 100 feet in either direction. And it's just amazing. But that's what I was talking about. So it's like the stump is probably got like a, I don't know, like a 5-foot radius, maybe 10-foot diameter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but how far and wide these branches go and how they'll grow so out and how strong it is built into the ground right there is just an impressive thing that it must hold. I mean, it must weigh. I have no idea how much these trees weigh.
Lot, man.
A lot.
Leaves are up there. Just leaves.
Yeah,
You
leaves,
break up
just the leaves. Yeah.
These are fucking
Oh, yeah,
heavy.
like one garbage bag of leaves is so heavy.
And those are dry leaves. Those are dry leaves. They have no water in them.
Oh, man. Yeah, because I imagine the green leaves would be heavier because they're freaking full of good stuff.
Full of water, exactly. I mean, they're probably, if they're anything like us, they're at least half water.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
They're probably 80% water, 75, just like us. I'm sure everything on Earth is a pretty much a mirror image of Earth itself in one form or another, just a different expression as a result of the individual struggles of that single item.
Mm-hmm.
Like the tree struggles, that's what makes its shape. If the world was a constant, I bet every tree would be shaped exactly the same. But the world is not a constant, so each tree has to grow to its environment.
Yep. And that was another thing too. Like this tree was built relatively close to the structure of the school and how long the school has been there and how I'm you know, because the tree will disrupt, it'll break freaking concrete. It doesn't care. It'll break it like slowly over time. The concrete or the
growth.
the
You can't stop
foundation, the
growth.
plumbing, you're not gonna be able to stop it. So it's
Can't
just really
stop growth.
interesting. And that was one of the things I was noticing, like as I dropped her off and I was walking out, like noticing this tree and how close it was to the corner of this building and how it was just like there in harmony with the place. And I don't know how much of that has to do with, man, dude, I'm like freaking tearing open right now. So good.
It's cool, man. It's beautiful. So let's go to what I texted you about. Let's change gears. So it just popped in my
Was
head.
it just now?
No. It was earlier today.
Do it.
About stuff to talk about today. One of the things I wanted to talk about was your question that you asked last week.
I'm not even certain that I got this message today.
No, I did text it to you. It's cool that you didn't get it because you have no idea what I'm going to say.
Yeah, do it.
Something you asked me our last speak was, what does your charger look like? And it wasn't something you were asking me. It was more of a general question based on the atmosphere of our conversation. And the context was basically, are you introvert or extrovert? Do you charge externally or do you charge internally? And that question, though, the nuances of it have been burning in my mind since I heard them. And it's been a thought experiment for me since the last time we did one of these calls together. And I've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And just recently I had a breakthrough. It gave birth to another question. And it was actually while I was externally processing with a very lovely lady who I've been relating with, externally processing on the phone with her when it happened. And I realized it's not so much what shape is my charger. It's what state do I get in to recharge? So what actually happens when my energy is being recharged? If I'm not asleep, what's actually happening? My external stimulus has created an internal process of belief that allows me to drop into a state, which allows me to recharge or heal or whatever. So what is that? It's just a state. It's just a chemical state that I have inside of me that enables me to recharge. It's not necessarily if I'm introverted or extroverted. how I access that state, though.
How you access the state.
And if I realize that that's what's happening as an individual, which I feel like I have, I can access that state anytime I want to now. And I've been doing a whole lot of it during this conversation, which is why my heart is ripping open.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels.
And so it's the state that we're in that's recharging, not necessarily whether there's someone here or not. How do we get here, though? That's based on things that we believe about our comfort zone, things that we believe about our safety, things that we have permission to think and feel, and expectations. So those are the reasons those are what define our charger. Expectations, comfort zone, learned beliefs, and limiting beliefs. Because when I started changing my relationship to my charger, those were the things that I was running up to. Those were what it was for me. And so when I ask the question now, what does your charger look like? It has a whole new meaning. I'm thinking,
what's the context of the person?
Yeah, is it AC or DC?
Yeah,
what does your charger look like?
Am I outside or am I inside? Is the beginning of the day? Is it the end of the day? Like, is it the middle of the night? Is it like, what did I just get? What was the mechanism of which I spent my energy, and now that I need to recharge? Like, it's extremely variable.
So how do I get it? So we have one state where energy is going out, and we have another state where energy is going in. And the only thing that is determining our state is here. And the only thing that's determining here is our scheduled set of beliefs. And so the introvert extrovert thing for me, I feel for the first time in my life, is case closed. Everybody is both. And we are simply programming ourselves into or out of one more than the other. And our world is only shaped for one. So if you're not the one that the world is shaped for, you're going to have a hard time either way. But at a core, it's not what shape is your charger. It's how do you find your charger?
I got one of those clickers. Beep 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 beep.
Yeah, what is it? For me,
it's interesting.
Pretty easy to find it now.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like now, and this wasn't true. I mean, it's different. Let me explain the thing. You ever see? Aaron knows. Aaron's watching. So if you go to anywhere else other than here, if you travel, they have like your wall outlets are different in different countries, and then you can get like one of those adapters that's got all the different shape shit on it.
Yeah.
And so I think the more that we have this conversation, the metaphor of this conversation, the more different adapters I have, I think is one of those things like, oh, I've been here before. I know how to recharge here. I know how to recharge here. And I see people talking about like shifting, like, oh, well, what are we going to do? Like I'm parking my car at Whole Foods. I have an Acura that takes gas, but I'm noticing now where I've lived in this space probably 3 years. And so, but noticing now that those the electrical car things, they're always full. And so I was just thinking about this the other day, like, and somebody somewhere, I don't remember the state, in like frickin' Des Moines or something, has like it's the first electric only gas station. And so like shifting that, it's like, it's just such a 1 and a 0. And I think that we could do a better way of being more like, how can we think outside of the box for that? I don't know if this is coming up for me. I go to this freaking gas problem because eventually all the cars are going to be electric and we're going to have all this infrastructure that we're going to have to tear down. And I think that's one of the, people's biggest problems. Like, what are we going to do with all this infrastructure? And I'm like, who the fuck cares? Let's tear it down and build something new, because that's how we do it, and figure out how to reuse that stuff and figure out how to, come up with a new adapter.
Yeah, new adapter.
But well, now that you ask that question, I'm like attempting to, which is really interesting, because now I'm attempting to place my adapter or charger into a container, and it doesn't fit because there's like too many ways. Like I've got, because I would, and another thing too, you said there's energy, there's a state, it's either going out or going in. And I would argue that it's both right now. Energy, it's like
so it's spooling up between us.
Yeah,
this is the best kind of recharge, when you can intellectually engage deeply with one person and spool the energy back up. because we're feeding off each other in like on a very real level. And if you were sitting in front of me, it would be way more intense. But since we don't have access to each other, this is close, but we're still spooling up that energy, from here to Hawaii. And so it resonates back and forth between us, and it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. Our brains are like slipping into what's almost like meditation.
Yes, 100% too. And this is another interesting thing, is that I will often have a hard time. This is one of my challenges, and that this is a cool notice. Like me and you are spooling right now, right? And so we're gonna shut this off in 20 minutes or whatever. And then we'll get to your question in just a second, Aaron. We're both spooling, and then we're gonna just cut this off. And I'm always just like, whoa, like feeling jacked and ready to go. But then I go straight downstairs and integrate with my family. And my plan after this is to throw my girls in the stroller and go for a freaking hour walk down this big ass hill that I live on.
Beautiful.
And oftentimes when I have these kind of conversations, and there's 2 or 3 people that I shared this kind of space with, Michaela will be like, hey, what'd you guys talk about? And it's really challenging for me to regurgitate what it was, because I think in a certain amount of way that it takes us a little while to unspool. And it's kind of like working out. If you're doing like heavy weightlifting, how you can literally do heavy weightlifting. If you do heavy weightlifting like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you like heavy lift for 45 minutes, the benefits of those heavy weightlifting, your body's like working with that for the next 48 hours or so. So it's easy to skip a day of heavy lifting. And so it's really interesting too. Like, so we do this heavy spooling, or that's the word we're going to use right now. Then when I go walk away, like, even though like we're still heavily spooled together, even though you're 2,000 miles away.
And it's like, that energy has to kind of wind down a little bit, where you can meet everyone and where they are.
Yeah, it takes me a little while to come down. Aaron has a question. He says, how do you both feel about recharging via new contacts or new experience? Yes, life can suck. Let me recharge with a new experience. I think new experiences. I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead, Dust.
I think it's a great way to disturb comfort, or disturb the pattern. New experiences, the way our brain responds, at least my brain responds to new experiences, it's a whole great load of endogenous drugs that my brain is making or not making, which is probably a result of the state that I'm in to begin with. So getting out there and doing something new can get you a natural high to pull you out of that state anyway. So yeah, go for novelty, unless it's harmful, and maybe avoid it. But
well, I think too, the more you try, I think novelty is really cool, because Dustin and I had this idea, like we were having these conversations like once a month. And so this thing for us, like talking about like, this is a massive, I just had a full work day and I was super tired. And then Dustin like messages me, and I'm attempting to do some admin. He's like, hey, you want to get on 10 minutes early? And I'm like right jacked up. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm ready for it. And my energy spikes. And we wouldn't have known that this was a thing if we wouldn't have had to try that out. And so I think a lot of times when you try those new experiences out, it's like these different adapters for your charger. They already exist. We're talking about breath work at the very beginning of this talk, and talking about connecting with your partner and, syncing up your breathing. Like that's always exist. That's existed since my wife and I's first date. We've just never done that. We have done it. We'll hold each other and we'll breathe together like face to face, but I've never tried the back, like the sled version. So you never know what charging device you're going to discover. And Amy just said, wouldn't you learn something new about yourself? Exactly. Yes, that's exactly it. And you'll learn something new and you'll be like, oh, this totally charges me, or this doesn't. And it's just more stuff to throw in your filing cabinet that you get to use that new level of awareness about yourself that Amy's talking about, or this new level of experience or skills you've created to make more powerful choices moving forward. So yes, do as much, I'd say, and that's like, you hear the quote, like, do something every day that scares you. Like, that's exactly why you should do that, because you never know what you're going to find out ever.
It might be your favorite thing.
It could be your favorite thing for a time. And we've all, and it's a good thing too, like we've all had favorite things that have been their favorite for a while. Like I coached CrossFit for a really long time, and I was used to spend 20 hours a week in the gym. It was like freaking jacked. And now I don't do
And
that.
one day you were crying and said, "We even call it the box." You were just
Yeah,
tears.
freaking
We even
tearing up.
call it the box.
We even call it the box. Yeah. And then one day that was
So
that was no
beautiful.
longer joyful for me. It no longer charged me. It actually started to bring me down because my soul, my heart, whatever you want to call it, was like, nope, that's enough. You've expanded enough. Your expansion with this thing is over. This is not going to work anymore. So good question, Aaron. Thanks.
Yeah, to circle back to Aaron's question, just to kind of finish it off, I think that the most important thing, whether it's a new experience, an old experience, if you're using it as a tool, is to pay attention. Pay attention to the results. The immediate results from the right away experience. How do I feel right now, right after the thing? And then also the next day, or depending on what it is, it might be several days. But pay attention. If you're going to take the step at growth, whatever that might be for you, it could be anything. But if you're going to take a step at it, pay attention to the process, because you're going to learn things that you didn't know were happening just by watching yourself. And you are an incredible teacher. You are brilliant in so many ways. And I'm saying you as in everyone in the fucking world. If we pay attention to ourselves enough, we can learn incredible things about what we need. And so in the context of Ryan and what Ryan and I were at earlier, what it eventually leads to is incredible energy management. So Ryan, not only do I know what my charger looks like, but I know where to plug it in all over the world because I got that adapter. And so I can recharge whenever I need to, wherever I need to, with whoever I need to. Maybe not with whoever, but with many people, which is great.
Amy's got a really interesting question. Is it really a take or an exchange, like a bridge?
I don't understand the question. In context of what?
Am I taking energy from you? Are you taking energy from me? Are we exchanging energy, or are we generating it like two magnets rubbing against each other?
Yeah, I think for the context of language, it's the middle is what's happening. What's happening profoundly between the two of us, and what'll probably always happen for as long as we're friends, is what's happening in between us. That's what's generating both of our experiences. The shared experience that we're having as a result, I'm interpreting it one way and creating all the energy on my own. You're not creating shit for me. I'm interpreting you. That's it. And you're interpreting me, interpreting you, and vice versa. And you're seeing the energy build in me that's building in you. And like we're not actually seeing these things, but we're interpreting them on very deep levels because we can feel the vibration of human connection. We've been having deep connections for a long time now. We know what they feel like. And when you drop into that very cool space, into this very cool space, it feels really nice. It feels like therapy. It feels like working out. It feels incredible.
What else you got? I think that might be it.
I don't know. That's pretty good.
Does anybody watching got any further questions before we dive off here? I'm like so jacked up to go. It's so hot outside. I'm sweating right now.
You're gonna go power walk those. I'm gonna go
freaking power walk those kids in the freaking 65-pound stroller up this goddamn hill.
I love it.
I'm so like stoked to do it now. It's so awesome.
Energy on demand.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I really love the thought about like, am I giving or taking someone else's energy? Because we'll talk about people that are energy vampires. Aaron, go for it. What's your question? Think about people that are energy vampires, and is it that they are taking your energy, or is it just a heavy energy tax for you to be around them? Like it's I think it's an interesting context.
Let's check it. Let's put it into the same thing that I said. So an energy vampire is feeling joy and connection to themselves by watching someone else get depleted and run dry, and taking power over them. It's an energetic overturn or an energetic dominance. that they can observe and enjoy, and they've learned how to manipulate people that way their whole fucking lives, and they don't even know they're doing it. That's the sad part.
Aaron's got one more question. He says he just
Mhm.
wants advice for a shitty day. And I'll give you the process that I use. I ask myself on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about my day? And the number that comes right up, like it pops in your chest, don't fight it, whatever it is. My day right now is a fucking 10 because this is dope. And most of my Mondays at around 3:30, no matter what happened this morning, are always awesome. So the second thing that I would say is like, okay, if I'm a 4 or a 6 or a 9 or a whatever it is, where you don't want to be around people, I would say then remove yourself from people to the most extent that you can, and to really reorient your definition of the word can. Remove yourself. If there are people that you don't want to be around, you just, and again, it's an easy scale. Justin, for the most part, and this isn't always true because we've taken breaks from this weekly thing where we're like, you know what, this isn't working. What was the longest break we took off this year? 2-3 months or so?
Yeah, probably 2 months, maybe
Yeah,
3.
we took like 2 months off when it's like, hey, this isn't working. I'm going to go take a break. Okay, sweet. Like right on. So again, those relationships, Aaron, you're talking about on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about those relationships? Well, I feel about a 2 about this one. I feel like a fucking 8 about this relationship. And then I imagine Kathy's your 10, right? So my advice over the next week, minimize your time around those. Like take those 3 things. If you have like an 8 and a 10 and a 2, like those are the 3 primary relationships. Maximize your time around those high numbers. And then anything below your average, which is with a 2 and an 8 and a 10 is freaking 6.7. Like, yeah, anything below a 7, minimize your time with that. And if it's a work thing or it's a contractual obligation thing, because I know you're still in the Navy, like that's a very low level question. Well, I'm forced to do this because I've been in the Navy. Dude, I stayed in the Navy 20 years too. And again, I'm guessing because I'm I have no idea exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, minimize your time, intentionally minimize your time, and then actually give your intention. What is my intention to minimize my time around this person? Because you got to be, yeah.
And so to play off Ryan, if you choose to evaluate the stimulus, let's not even call it people. Let's just call them all stimulus, whether it's playing darts or arguing with your best friend or whatever it is, stimulus. If it's making you feel good, it's above a 6. If it's making you feel bad, it's below a 6. If it makes you feel like shit, it's below a 4, so on and so forth. So stimulus, not people. All people are stimulus. All things are stimulus. So look at everything as a stimulus. It's either going this way or this way. Minimize the this way for sure, but also pay attention to increasing the this way. Again, to go back to the intention thing, like one of my favorite phrases that I've used to psychologically mindfuck myself for hours at a time is this thing that I learned called choose happy. It's literally a choice or an action-based decision at a happy thing. So you've known yourself for a pretty long time. Chances are you could write down 5 or 6 things on a piece of paper that make you happy. Increase those things, in your week. So instead of increasing the 2 relationship, instead of doing the 2 relationship or the 2 stimulus, do the one that's like a 7.5 or maybe an 8, or maybe really treat yourself. Go out there and find that 10. And if you're having a shitty day and you create a 10, maybe you have a medium day or a all right lukewarm day the next day. Create another 10, and pay attention. Where am I at? Where do I want to go? And make small choices, small happy choices to vote up.
I just learned this. I'm reading this book, Kyle Cease. It's just called The Illusion of Money. And he talks about checking in with things that make you happy. And I just think this is a useful thing. Burritos make me happy, but they make me happy in my mind. They make me happy in the part of my brain that wants that quick shot of dopamine. And so whereas when I really think about it, when I think about that burrito, like where do I feel the joy at in my burrito? And it's usually from like my eyeballs up that I really feel it. But when I really think about that burrito and let my body feel that, my body's like, hey man, you've already eaten 2 or 3 burritos today. So it's just, so when you're choosing those things that are happy, because a lot of people are just like video games or alcohol or masturbation or whatever it is, Things
Thank you.
that can be good in like small doses, but a lot of times we'll end up choosing these things that end up just masking the stuff. So then the other option, it's like, man, if I was able to have this challenging conversation about this topic with the number two, with the 2 out of 10 relationship, and was able to resolve this thing, your brain's gonna be like, no, fuck that, dude, go eat the burrito. Because
Go eat the burrito.
your brain knows that a part of you will have to die to really evolve a 2 out of 10 relationship, anything into anything significant.
Or end a 2 out of 10 relationship.
Or even end the 2. Part of you will have to die because there's always some history. And the freaking hilarious, the hilarious example that he used, this kid, one of his clients wanted to, he had always taken care of his parents. Both of his parents were always sick, like his whole life. So he was a caretaker for his parents. And his parents passed away, but his whole role was caretaker of his parents. And so he's like, well, we asked him, he's like, what do you really want to do? He's like, I've always wanted to travel to France, but money, but this, but that, da 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 da. And so he's like, oh, well, what about, it has this Airstream camper that was like this thing that he connected with his dad. And then he had like this antique rifle from the Civil War that he was like felt obligated to take care of because he's still in this caretaker role, right? But when he was really honest, the question he asked him about that history, because we often have a tough time letting go of things because of our history with whatever that item is, that external thing. And external includes relationships and people.
Fuck yeah.
And so he's like, well, what would your ancestors say about you selling this rifle? And the dude was like, well, I'm fucking dead. I don't care. So, and then they both like cried for frickin' ever, you know? And so it's just, Sean, like we're 50 minutes into this, like catch the replay, homie. Love you. But like, we're on a roll right now. So the topic's all over the place. So anyways, he's, man, that was me derailing myself, by the way, acknowledging somebody else. I want you guys to notice what just happened. That was me derailing me.
That's
and
nice.
so it's just like letting go of that role. And then, yeah, it's just like letting go of that role, letting go of those things. And sometimes it's just letting go of those relationships, because toxic shit is toxic. I don't care if it's freaking rat poison or your mother-in-law, you know, it's just good game. So I hope that answers your question, Aaron. And that's something that you can really teach your junior sailors to, like, to hold on what matters and then figure out how to help them connect what matters to what they're doing on the boat, because that's a challenging thing, because it's a challenging environment to be. And if you don't have a good reason to be there, intention wise, you're going to continue to chase that burrito because it's easy. And it's only $7. What's up, Amber? Right on. I think that's going to do it for me, homie.
Yeah, that sounds good, man.
Yeah, cool. If anybody's interested in catching up with a year's worth of freaking these conversations with Dustin and I and other people, we're gonna these are all on my YouTube channel now.
Dude, I want to watch them just to see what the fuck I looked like in the beginning when I was just like, Burning Man was hard.
Oh yeah,
because I was pretty fucking, I mean, I've always been super real on these conversations. I've always kept it super real, and so it would be interesting to see what that version of super real looks like.
Yeah,
I'm glad they're there. One of them is gonna get like 20,000 views one day, and we're gonna be like,
dude, that's the goal.
Insta famous.
That's the goal. It's not the dream.
That's cool, man. Well, I appreciate this call more than most. This was a fun one.
Dude, this was really dope.
Thanks for being down to drop in like that.
Actually, I'm gonna hop off of Facebook, but stay on here real quick. Let's actually, I'll text you in a minute. We'll schedule the next one out.
Beautiful.
So
thank you.
Let's get you on first Monday, November. I'll just send you an invite.
First Monday of November sounds nice.
Man. Hi, bro.
Later, bud.
Love you lots. Talk to you soon.
Love you too, man.